back to the past to play the shitty
Monday Night Raw.
Suck ass. He'd rather have a buffalo take a diarrhea dump in his ear. He'd rather eat the rotten asshole of a roadkill skunk and down it with beer. He's the angriest
IWC
you've ever heard. He's the angry
WWF
nerd. He's the angry
TNA and Ring of Honor
nerd. He's the angry
wrestling.
nerd.
I don't know what it is, but the Solomonster loves to hate on Roman Reigns. You know what Solomonster really likes about Reigns? When he says his catchphrase. Because Solomonster doesn't have catchphrases of his own, right? Hand-picked guy? Fucked over? He says these phrases every week and nobody complains about that. Remember kids, everything is wrong unless Solomonster does it. Anyway, he finally tried to make an attempt to shut people like me up, yes. Will it hold up? Well, let's find out.
Largely it comes from when you watch Raw and SmackDown. Although SmackDown I don't even know. I got so tired of the crowd editing and the crowd sweetening on SmackDown. That's one of the things that makes that show so impossible to watch. And maybe that is the biggest benefit of this whole brand split and everything that's going on. No more crowd sweetening on SmackDown. That probably is the biggest plus of all. They won't have the ability to fuck with the audience reaction the same way they do now. Because it made the show unwatchable. So Roman would come out, and I'm sure they probably muted the crowd or sweetened it up a little bit because they had the chance to do that. Now they won't.
I have to stop you here. Really? The biggest benefit is no crowd editing? Seriously? How miserable do you have to be so butthurt over edited crowds? Remember when sitcoms used to have laugh tracks? There were some sitcoms that had live audiences, but most of them used computers to laugh at lines that were meant to be funny. In other words, fake crowds. What WWE and what these TV shows used to do is the same. Try to make the show sound exciting with fake crowds. Sure, what a great thing to have WWE no longer be able to add excitement to their shows since they won't be taped anymore. I'm not sure, but doesn't Solomonster watch Seinfeld? If he likes to watch old sitcoms yet hates canned crowd noises and WWE, that makes him a hypocrite. Not like I already proved that.
They had Bob Saget as the host. The guy from Full House, I'm sure some of you know. I mean, he's done other things, but he's most well known for being on Full House. He's on Fuller House now, too, by the way. Great show. But the point I'm trying to make is, there are people who will say that the boos are only coming from the TV fans. Those are not the real fans. Right? And he sells a lot of merchandise. He sells a lot of tickets. And on the merchandise stuff, t-shirts and all that, again, I'm not denying that. I'm not saying that's not true. But the idea that he sells all these tickets to the live events, he's like the anchor. Like John Cena once was the anchor. Hulk Hogan once was the anchor. Steve Austin once was the anchor. He's now that guy. He's the anchor. And I'm not convinced that that's the case. I think at this point, it's more the brand that sells. And WWE can pretty much plug any big name in there, and the end result, I don't think, is going to be dramatically different. Unless it's John Cena. Because John Cena, he's been on top for so long, and he's been so established. I think he does have demonstrated drawing power. I don't think Roman Reigns has demonstrated drawing power. Certainly not the way that John Cena does, but I haven't seen anything demonstrated. So I looked at the latest house show numbers. I said, let's just check them out.
Yeah, let's wait until a house show with Roman Reigns on it does low attendance before I actually acknowledge house show numbers. Good journalism, this is called. I know what you're trying to do, nitpicker.
So I looked at the latest house show numbers that were in the Observer newsletter this week. And granted, this is just 1 week, but it's the latest batch of numbers. And I see the Roman Reigns crew, which is the shows that are led by Roman in the main event. 2,600 fans in Springfield, Illinois. 2,200 in Peoria, Illinois, 2,300 in Madison, Wisconsin. These are not good numbers. Now, the non-Roman Reigns show that they had on May 29th was in La Crosse, Wisconsin. That show did a little bit better, at least. That show did 3,500 people, with a main event of Dean Ambrose against Alberto Del Rio. That was the main event. So, I'm not sold on this notion that Roman Reigns is the guy that the masses most want to see.
Wow, great work, Solomonster. You actually put resources to good use for once. If only you actually saw attendance numbers prior to this where it was reported that Reigns has drawn 4,000 5,000 at house shows. Also, what you fail to understand, or maybe you're stretching the truth again, I don't know, is that Springfield, Peoria, and Madison are all B and C cities, which aren't as populated compared to let's say Chicago. So put those three attendances together and you got a good 7,100 fans for a 3-day weekend, which isn't bad for a live event that doesn't matter. Also, if that La Crosse, Wisconsin show was your only chance to see Ambrose that weekend in the Midwest, it made sense that more people went to that. Typical Solomonster, spinning shit. But no, he's not done, because of course he's not.
Or that doing a double turn, let's say, with him and Rollins, had they gone in that direction, would be some kind of unmitigated disaster. I don't think long-term those numbers would be all that much different, and if anything, maybe they would be a little bit higher if Seth Rollins really did catch fire as a babyface. But the thing is, Roman Reigns would have to turn in that scenario, because if Seth's a babyface and Roman's a babyface, unless the plan is to do a Shield reunion, all of a sudden now you have no real heels on the other side, other than maybe Jericho and Kevin Owens. So that's...
Wait a second. They don't have heels now? Didn't you just name one of your episodes, the bad guys always win? I guess Sheamus, Del Rio, Rusev, Styles. No, they're all not heels. They're only heels if they win matches. That makes sense.
That's the quandary that they find themselves in. That's, I guess, in their mind, why, well, we had to keep Rollins heel. My argument is this. He had all of this fire, and you knew people were going to cheer for this guy when he came back. Why kill that? Why not take the chance? And I guess there's still time. They could do a double turn, but again, I've lost all hope. It's very obvious to me that they're not turning this guy, and I just think it's a mistake.
Well, it's not a mistake. Why is Seth Rollins still a heel? Because maybe he's good at being a heel. Maybe because if he's better as a heel than a babyface? You have to look at the big picture. If Rollins is a face, who would he have to feud with? Rollins and Styles would be a good feud, but why turn him just for one feud? Owens, Del Rio, Sheamus? Does Solomonster want to see Sheamus feuding with Rollins? Or he could stay heel and feud with Zayn, Cesaro, Cena. Besides, what is this fire you speak of? Every week he used to get, "You sold out" chants. He had little catchphrases he said every week. Liked those. There's just so much going for him as a villain. Why get rid of all that? He looks like a villain. As they say, if it looks like a duck and it walks like a duck and it squawks like a duck, then it is a duck. Don't fix what isn't broken. But there are two other things I want you to hear from his podcast, and they're hilarious.
I was trying to find anything else to do. And I realized, in that moment, I thought to myself, I said, have I become one of those people? Where if it wasn't for this show, I would skip Raw altogether. Is that me? Is that how I feel? Because I don't feel that way when it comes to NXT. I don't feel that way when it comes to Lucha Underground. When I have time to catch Ring of Honor, which isn't very often right now, I don't feel that way about ROH. So it's not like I hate wrestling all of a sudden. I mean, I was more concerned about, when I came back, about going back and catching up on the Lucha Underground episode that I missed the previous week. But I had no real desire to go back and catch up on Raw, other than the fact that I felt like I have to. And that kind of scared me a little bit, because I never used to feel that way. And it's not as though I hate on Raw every single week or anything like that. But I guess that flame, or whatever you want to call it, it isn't quite as bright as it used to be. But at the end of the day, if I ever stopped reviewing Raw, people would go somewhere else to catch up on the show. Because they can hate on Raw all they want to, but they still want to know what's going on. I can't tell you how many people listen to this podcast and they focus on those Raw reviews because they don't even watch Raw anymore. They rely on me to fill them in on what's going on. Now they can do that, but I can't.
Oh, poor Solomonster. So let me get this straight. Raw is on Monday, your podcast is uploaded 6 days later, Sunday. Do you really believe that people would wait 6 whole days to find out what happened on Raw? There are 3 ways they could do that before your podcast. 1. They can see the results online. 2. They can play it back on their DVRs. Or 3. Now they can see a 2-hour version of it on CFE every Friday. For you to think that people haven't seen Raw prior to listening to your podcast is just ludicrous. The general consensus is that they watch Raw, and they can't wait for you to shit all over it because most of the time, you say what they want to hear. They'll listen to you because you have a microphone, just like from that clip I showed from Review Tech USA. First you're a nitpicker, now you're a narcissist. You're not obligated to watching Raw. Don't watch Raw if you don't feel like it. Your listeners only want you to talk about it because they love to hear you shit all over it, and that's it. James Rolfe, you know, the guy with the show with the theme I ripped for this video? James Rolfe posted a video that went viral and it was about why he refused to watch Ghostbusters when it comes out this summer. This was basically the gist of it.
So instead of doing what everybody else is going to do, go see the movie and then talk about how bad it is, I'm going to do something different, something unheard of. I'm not going to see it. Wow. What a novel concept, right? If you already know you're going to hate it, why give them your money? If this is the Ghostbusters movie that nobody wanted, then the box office results should reflect that.
That sums it up. That's called voting with your wallet. If you don't like a product that's being put out, don't contribute to their success and hand them your money. The whole purpose of a podcast is to talk about your passions. If you no longer have a passion for Raw, then talk about something else. And then there's this.
Of the idea. You know, the sad thing is that this Brizongo team, as ridiculous as that fucking name is, this team is probably the best thing for those guys right now. And it pains me to say that, the fact that the best they could do with Tyler Breeze is to team him up with fucking Fandango. I just think that's just such a fucking insult, but...
Ooh, somebody is not happy about poor Tyler Breeze. Yeah, poor Tyler Breeze who picked a stupid gimmick at the last minute. What benefit does WWE have in dragging his character through the mud if it doesn't draw? Why invest in something that doesn't draw? They don't even trust Breeze to get his own merchandise. Can you imagine if he had his own shirts? Who would buy them? Just because he's had good matches with a couple of indie sensations in NXT doesn't mean he's profitable to WWE. I guess I'll end the video right here. Until next week, because you know there will be more. I'll see you next time.